everyone, and welcome to A Stitch in Time. Today is Thursday, December 17th, 2020, and this is episode 164. I'm Carol, also known as Knits and Pearls on Ravelry, and I am coming to you from my home in the Fraser Valley of British Columbia, just a little more than an hour's drive east of Vancouver. If you are a first-time viewer, a very special hello and welcome to you. Thank you for checking out the podcast. And if you're a returning viewer, hello again and welcome back. I am so pleased that you have chosen yet again to spend part of your day with me. There are so many podcasts out there for you to choose from, so I am very touched that so many of you return week after week and month after month. I know how hard it is for me to keep up with my favorites, and I've fallen very much behind, so that you take the time to watch, and especially that so many of you take the time to comment, just means the world to me. If things look a little bit different to you as regular viewers, that is because I am recording on my computer this week. I had a little mishap with my camera while filming a Vlogmas segment this past week. It didn't like being in the car and going around a corner. It slid off it's not the dashboard when it's up by the windshield. Anyway, landed on the floor with the lens open and I could not close it again. Luckily, when I purchased it earlier this year, I also bought some accidental coverage at the same time, and so I contacted the insurance or warranty company yesterday. By evening, I had a shipping label in my inbox, and I dropped it off at UPS this morning to be sent away and be either repaired or replaced. So for now, I am making do with my computer, but I've also been experimenting using my phone. I know, what a concept, right? But I just have never really gotten into the habit of taking photos or videos with my phone. I really like to have an actual camera, especially one with a really good zoom on it. And so it's taken a little bit of practice, but I'm getting there. Also, before I get into the nuts and bolts of the podcast, I will just mention that there are a couple of weeks left in the 2020 Gal Cal. That is a gift along, craft along that is taking place in the Ravelry group. Anyone is welcome to join in. Very simple. You just take part in the chatter thread and show us what kind of gifts you're making. It can be any sort of gift for any sort of occasion for anybody, and can be any craft. The only rule is that you can only win once. I have done 2 different prize drawings already. One after the end of October and one after the end of November, and that leaves one more drawing to come, which will take place early in January. My first episode in January, I will announce the winners. The Gal Cal ends on December 31st. One winner will receive this project bag that I have made, and the other will receive a pattern of their choice that is giftable on Ravelry up to a value of $10 US. Try to think if there's, I draw the winners, I use random number generator. I will draw from all of the posts right from the beginning of the cal right to the end. And if the random number generator, that's always such a mouthful, if it chooses your post number, then you win. Simple as that. All right, I feel it's funny. I have been doing Vlogmas since December 1st, and I've managed to make it every day with a little video. I have to say, viewing some other people's vlogmases, mine is nowhere near as well produced or as interesting, I would say. But I did warn you at the beginning that my life is not exactly exciting these days. I'm home most of the time, and this month I've really been concentrating on doing some gift knitting. But there are enough of you that were interested and enough of you that are still watching that I will continue to do that for, I guess, another, what are we, the 17th? So another week's worth, I guess. That is such a scary thought that Christmas Eve is just a week away. But I did get one of my gifts finished last night, and that has taken a huge weight off my shoulders. Um, yeah, so why don't I show it to you, or them to you right now? That seemed like a good segue, and I didn't even plan it. So these are socks that I knit for my brother-in-law. I have to remember to look up there instead of down there, except it's hard to see out of my peripheral vision. Anyway, yeah, these are socks that I knit for my brother-in-law. I have his name for Christmas. That is my brother-in-law, as in my husband's brother. I also have one of my sister's husbands, his name for Christmas, but I didn't knit him anything this year. So anyway, these are just a pair of garter rib socks. I did them toe up because my brother-in-law has a little bit wider foot than my husband, plus a little bit longer foot. And I was working with two 50-gram balls of, I don't have the label for this pair, but I do have the label for something else. It's the Peyton's Croy FX. Sorry, it's going to take me some getting used to where you can see things on here. Peyton's Croy Socks FX. This is the Cadet Colors colorway. So they are, it's more of a sport weight than a fingering weight. So I knit them on 2.5 millimeter needles instead of my usual 2 millimeter needles. And this brother-in-law, I usually cast on with a fingering weight yarn around 76 stitches or so. This time I did 68. I'm hoping they're not too loose, but he does have a little bit wider foot than my husband. So I was making my way up the legs and was worried that I wouldn't have enough yarn to finish them. I do like to have quite a long leg on both on my socks and the socks I knit for other people, and I felt like these were going to fall a little bit short, especially because I thought they might work well as boot socks because they're that little bit heavier yarn. So I did order a couple more skeins of the same yarn from Yarn Canada, and it came, I think it was either the next day or the day after my order went through. So I had plenty of time to finish them up, and actually I stayed up late last night finishing them because I was just done. This is, I think I talked about it last week. I didn't really want to add a pair of socks to my gift knitting list. At the same time, this particular brother-in-law, I do knit socks for him on a regular basis, and I know he wears them and I know he appreciates them, and I just felt like I couldn't not include that as part of his Christmas gift. So I'm really glad that I've made them for that reason. So you can't even tell where I added in the new color, the new skein on either sock. When I got the skeins of yarn in the mail, the new ones, I thought they looked quite a bit different than the original yarn. But then when I put them next to it, I realized that no, it was just sort of, I had it in my head that the original yarn was much more uniform than the new stuff. But I think it's just because when I pulled the old yarn out of my stash, it had been wound into yarn cakes already, And I think that just changed the appearance of it, because definitely in the skein you could see a lot of variation in the skein. In any case, that's a lot of talking about a very simple pair of socks. Oh, I guess I should acknowledge that as a guide, I used the Mix and Match Rib Sock Recipe by Chrissy Gardner. It comes from a book called Toe Up. And so I used that um, for the toe construction and the number of stitches to cast on. Um, but I subbed in my preferred yarn over short row heel. And I think for the size I was knitting, I was supposed to do something like 2.5 or 3 inches of regular ribbing for the cuff, but I did about 1.5 inches. So yes, very, very, very happy to be finished these. They've been hanging over my head, and now I can relax and just enjoy the rest of my gift knitting, because the rest of it's not so bad. One of those items is the Barley Light Hat, and I am knitting this for my grandson. And I'll show you the pattern looks like that. So I'm sure many of you have seen this. It's by Tin Can Knits. So it's just basically a plain hat, only has a panel of garter stitch that runs up the front. So very simple to do. The garter stitch adds a little bit of interest, both for the design and for the knitter. And I am also knitting this out of the Peyton's Kroy Socks FX, but these are the clover colors that I'm using this time, and it is these greens and oranges. I had made a pair of socks out of this yarn for my grandson in the past. These are his colors all the way, and he's a little bit of like a light redhead like his dad is. So he looks good in these greens and oranges. So I thought that would be a good way to use up the rest of the sock yarn. So the light's not too bad even to show you how it is. So definitely more colorful than the blue socks that I was working on, and that helps keep some of my interest. I haven't actually touched these probably in close to a week. I've been concentrating on the socks, but now I can turn my attention somewhat back to this. I didn't bother bringing them in because, oops, I just dropped a few stitches. Let me just pick them up before they're gone forever. There we go. I didn't bother bringing them in, but I am also working on a pair of socks for my husband. You've seen them before. They are my Storm Morning socks, knit from Fiber Nymph Dye Works mountain tweed base in the Storm Morning colorway. But I've only added one stripe since I recorded 2 weeks ago. I had to go and look at the episode, the beginning of the episode, and decide if it was worth showing you any progress. But there hasn't really been any. So now that those socks are done, I'll be able to work on those more. And I have to do them, of course, when Cameron's not around. He is actually, for the second time this week, away overnight. So I might try and put some time in on them this evening and maybe tomorrow while he's gone. And then I tend to knit first thing every morning for a little while, and he's usually at work. So I should be able to finish them up in the next week. Oh, now that I say that, that sounds so fast. The good thing is I know he won't mind if he gets a package under the tree with a half-done sock. Sock number 1 at least is done. So number 1 priority, the hat. Number 2 priority, his socks. And I know he'll understand. I'm going to take a sip of tea. My my throat's getting a little dry. I love this cup. This was a gift from my daughter. I can't remember if it was last year or the year before. Starry Skies, Cozy Nights, Hot Tea, Frosty Mornings. And I'm drinking some, oh no, I just dropped it. Just a second. came in a little drawer and it slid out. It's Candy Cane Crush by David's Tea, and I think I actually bought it like 2 years ago when they were clearing it out after Christmas. But it's like the prettiest tea. It's got all these little white chocolate snowflakes and chips and bits of candy cane, and it's just basically a peppermint flavor to it. And I often will make it up like a latte, but I just made it plain today. I didn't even put any milk in it. It's very good. So I have two Advent projects that have really been holding my attention this Advent season. And actually, on that note, I thought I would wear last year's Advent project. This is the Adventurer scarf by Amba O'Brien, and I knit it out of the Advent Holiday Mini Collection by Fiber Nymph Dye Works. I also knit a pair of scrappy socks with the leftovers, so I thought it was appropriate to wear that today. So I was so pleased with that collection last year that I immediately signed up for this year's when it became available. So this is the Holiday Pops collection, and this year Lisa the dyer alternated solid, she calls them semi-tonal colorways. She said they're not just semi-solids. She did blended colors together to make semi-tonal colors, her word, she says, and also alternated them with speckles. So I am knitting another pattern by Amba O'Brien, which is, well, it's technically the Adventuresome wrap, but I am knitting it as a cowl. I am following the directions that Little Berry, who is a Ravelry user, you put in her project notes. I'm following her project notes. So I've knocked off a few stitches. I'm doing a little bit of garter stitch, slipping the first stitch of each row and knitting the first two and last two stitches on the sides in garter stitch. So I did a provisional cast on, and then I've just been working my way up. So I think it is so fun the way it alternates between the speckles and the solids. Unfortunately, I can see again in here that the light is just not quite right, and these two turquoise stripes, they just do not show up in their true color at all. This is a really rich, full, warm turquoise, and this one is, I guess, maybe a little bit more green to it, a little more aqua maybe. I don't know how to describe it, but unfortunately the lighting just does not show it up well. I did notice I was recording a Vlogmas segment this morning and showing my progress on my socks, and that light there, I think it was in my kitchen where I did it, it seemed to capture it better. So if you're really interested, you could check that out. It'll be up later tonight. In any case, that is, I guess, 15 days worth of progress. I started knitting day 16, which is this purple and jade and off-white ball, and then day 17 is this lovely kind of dusty violet color. So one of the reasons I decided to do a cowl rather than a wrap, did I say one of the reasons? I had two reasons. One was I felt like I would wear an infinity scarf or cowl more than an actual wrap, and I also wanted to have enough yarn left over to do Advent socks scrappy advent socks like I did last year. And so there you go. I've got this one quite well on its way. It's all caught up except for it's all cut up till tomorrow. I didn't put today's yarn in yet. As you can see, it was still in skein form. So what I ended up doing, I had a little bit of a dilemma. I had two different blues that were left over from other Fiber Nymph Dye Works projects, and I really wanted to use one of them for the heel because I want to use this towards my monthly makes. And so I initially did put the darker one in, and I thought it would pick up the speckles in the yarn. But when I put it in, I wasn't quite sure about it. It seemed a little bit out of place. And then when I did the second sock with this shade, which is denim, it just right away just seemed to fit better. It doesn't stick out like a sore thumb. And so I'm really happy with how that turned out. And I used last year's Scrappy Advent socks as a bit of a guide. And so I am knitting 7 rows of each for each stripe, and that should get the socks to be about the right length that I like. I even did a little bit of measuring and calculation last night, and I figured it out right. So when I'm all done from this heel point, they'll probably be about approximately 8 inches long, which is what I like. So yeah, really happy with those socks. So I've got that one done, and then I did also do a second, so it's all caught up to the same point. And I just have a little row counter on it where I keep track of my 7 rows. I know I could count, but it's just easier if I just change it with every round, and then that takes care of that. I had a question, I think it was from yesterday's Vlogmas, someone asking how I change colors for the sock. So I'm going to try and include just a little bit about that on a future Vlogmas. Maybe not today's, but maybe I'll try and put it in tomorrow. So if you're the person who is asking, watch for that coming up within the next few days. And I'll show you what I do to change colors. It's very simple, but it might be helpful to see. I know I always gain a lot of insight from people's different ways of methods of doing things. And I guess there is a little bit of a jog along the side. But honestly, because there's so many speckles in these stripes, and because they're the same colors as the stripes beside them, you know, where you skip or where you have the stitches do a little jog, it could just as easily be a speckle that's throwing it off. So it's not a super obvious join, I don't think. So, yeah. Okay, I believe that's it for the knitting. Let me just double check. It's weird to have my show notes over here this week instead of in front of me where they usually are, but I don't have room on my ironing board. Yes, coming up next is acquisitions. I am going to have to do a little bit of clearing away of projects in order to bring those into closer proximity. So I'm going to pause right here and I'll be right back. I have an embarrassment of riches, which is really just another way of saying I went a little bit overboard in the holiday sales and treated myself far more than I probably should have. First up is my Knit Picks order. I took advantage of a really good price and ordered their Prism interchangeable needle set, and I also bought a case to store them in, or to store it in, I guess I should say. So the case holds the needles really nicely like this. They are an aluminum needle, but they're coated. and interchangeable, and I just think they're beautiful for one thing, and I could just never have enough interchangeable needles because I have lots of projects on the go at a time, and I'm always looking for another cable or another set of my favorite sizes. So this case has two sides to the pockets there. I don't know if you can see. So I might slip some of my other interchangeable needles in here, the Knit Picks ones. I do have the plain aluminum ones, and I have some of the wooden ones. So maybe I'll put my wooden tips in here. And then there's a pocket on, zippered pocket on either side where you can hold the accessories like the various cables and the end caps for them. So did I really need another interchangeable set? Probably not. My very favorite one that I have is the ChiaoGoo. I have some Knit Picks ones, I have ChiaoGoo, and I have these now. But I've been eyeing them up for a while, and like I said, they were a good price. I couldn't pass it up. And I also took the same opportunity to get myself a new set of crochet hooks. I have had, I think they're here. No, they're not. They must be in the living room. I have a really, really, really old set of, I think they're Arrow, and they just have the really straight handles like that. And I thought I would like to try, these have like a soft handle and they're thicker. And again, pretty colors, I can't resist. So I thought I would pick up a new set of crochet hooks. I was kind of hoping that these might fit in that case because I had all these spots for other needle tips on the other side, and I thought, oh, maybe I can use this side for crochet hooks, but the pockets aren't big enough, unfortunately, for the handles, so that is not going to work. But what I was really excited about, because the main purpose of that particular purchase was to get yarn to do the Dogwood Blossoms sweater that I talked about last regular episode. I don't know if you're going to be able to see. There is that lovely box of goodness. Again, some of these colors are not showing up. This is another one of those turquoise skeins that end up looking blue, but this is a warm, beautiful turquoise. So that is going to be one of my big projects for 2021, and I am really, really excited about it. Another place that I spent a lot of money and a lot of time was the Fiber Nymph Dyeworks website. I love Lisa's yarns, and I took advantage of some of her sales over Black Friday and into, they get Small Business Saturday and Cyber Monday. I think that's right. I was so excited to get my hands on a skein of her yarn, her new colorway this holiday season called Sugar Plumbed. I saw it on her podcast, 90% Knitting, and missed the first update because I forgot to set any sort of clock. And this time I actually set a timer, set an alarm, and was able to get on there and get it. And even then, my first choice of base got cartjacked, and I had to settle for this one, Bronzed Sparkle, which it wasn't a sacrifice at all. It's very hard to see on camera. Maybe you can see the odd glint. It's a very subtle metallic. It's really pretty, and I just love these colors. So then she had shown that she was knitting a pair, and she used a Merlot mini to do the heels. And so the next update, I ordered 5 minis that would go either with yarns I was ordering or yarns I already had. So I did get a Merlot mini to go with this. So I'll use that for the heels. Maybe toes too, but definitely heels. And then I ended up ordering several other soft yarns. Sorry for the crinkling, Knurlin plastic. So I already owned this colorway on Frozen Pond, but I ordered a mini to go with that one. Not sure if it's showing up on screen, but that's just a very pale gray. I think that's Wisp, I think is her colorway. And then I got Cozy Mountain Christmas on the Mountain Tweed base. And then I paired that with just a natural. I wasn't quite sure which colors would best match, but I actually really like that light heel. I have a pair of Arne and Carlos Regia socks that I did just a light heel on, and I love how it looks. And then I got a leaf pile in, also this is also in the bronzed sparkle base, and I paired it up with that one. It's looking very orangey red on screen, but it is more of a true red. And this is looking a lot brighter than it is. It isn't that it's not bright, it's just not like bright. And then I got color play, or winter play, excuse me, winter play on the bedazzle base and with that mini. So I have lots of great Fiber Nymph Dye Works knitting to do in 2021. She is running a little bit of a different program next year. I don't know what it is yet. She hasn't announced it, but I definitely have a head start. And I'm thinking, yes, it's right there. I had already put another one away, but it's right here. I ordered this, when I ordered my sugar plum, I didn't want to pay shipping for just one item, so I also bought this, which I think is so pretty. Again, it's sparkly. You can never have too much sparkle. This is the dark to fuchsia color block gradient. So I think there's 5 shades in there. And this one, it really is as bright as it shows. So I think it's going to make a really fun scarfy shawl. And then I was thinking it would be fun to get a nice bright pink to make a hat to go with it. So I might have to ask Lisa what colors are in here and see if I can't get a skein of yarn to match, because I thought I might have something in my stash, but I do not. And if that wasn't enough gluttony, when I ordered the extra yarn for my brother-in-law's socks, I picked up another couple of skeins of sock yarn. This Mountain and Fjords colorway from Arne and Carlos. This is colorway 7032. I had wanted to purchase this a few weeks ago when I placed another order for some of this yarn, but the shop I had bought it from was out of stock. So when I saw this was there on Yarn Canada's website, I snapped it up, and I also just was drawn to this skein. I thought the colors were so soft and pretty, and also had a nice color, or a nice design to knit up into. And these yarns I'll put in my commercial sock yarn bin which is sitting to my left at the moment, being used as a table. I like to keep lots of these types of commercial sock yarns on hand for doing gift knitting because they're pretty well indestructible, so I don't mind giving them away to people. And they can put them in the washer and dryer, not worry. And then one final thing, I see it's not even, I think it has, because it's heavy, it's kind of slipped out of sight. I bought, also from Farmer Nymph Dye Works, this beautiful pin. It's called a penannular brooch. It is by the company Jewel. And I actually got up early, really early, in the middle of the night to order this before somebody else did. I don't do that very often. I was drawn to it because, of course, it looks like a letter C, and my name is Carol. It starts with a C, and then butterflies remind me of my dad. So when I saw the two together, I just knew that I really wanted to own it. I really like this particular feature. So the stick pin is attached with a little loop on the back, so you can't lose it. I have a couple other shawl pins that have a similar idea in that they have a backing and then a stick pin to go through and attach it. And I've had them come undone before when I've worn them. And so this one, you never lose it. So you just put it in, bring the pin in between those two butterflies, and then you give it a turn. So it lies nice and flat, it stays in place, and you're not going to lose it. So I probably shouldn't have, but I'm glad I did. And this is, I think it's brass and white brass is what it's made from. So yes, I definitely went a little crazy and spoiled myself before Christmas. Last time I recorded a regular episode about 2 weeks ago, we had just learned that our son's fiance had contracted COVID-19, and I think at that point our son was showing some mild symptoms but hadn't yet tested positive. At that point, they were both early on in their illness, and we didn't know quite what form it might take. As you know, COVID-19 is a strange virus in that it can affect people in so many different ways. Some literally have no symptoms at all, while others become gravely ill, and still others succumb to it. And I am very happy to say that while they were definitely quite sick, neither got seriously ill, and they are both now well on their way to recovery. So needless to say, I'm very relieved about that and grateful for their health. During the past couple of weeks, I have had many of you reach out with your own stories, whether you yourself have gone through COVID or whether people close to you have. And I just want to say thank you for all of your words of support and encouragement. You'll never know how much they mean to me. You'll never know how much this community means to me. I mean, I sit and I talk into preferably a camera, occasionally a computer or phone screen, and send it off into the interwebs. And what I get back is just incredible. I'm so grateful for all of you. So thank you once again. You just means so much to me. As for the state of COVID-19 in British Columbia, I think it was about 5 or 6 weeks ago, our numbers were skyrocketing, and with no sign of slowing down. And our health officer put stricter restrictions in place, um, including that we were not allowed to socialize with people outside of our household, with very few exceptions. And it seems to have worked. We have again flattened our curve, but in very high numbers. There are still hundreds of cases a day. Sadly, many people in hospital and critical care, and many have lost their lives since that time. Um, and recently, our restrictions were extended till January 6th, which means that there will be no family Christmas this year. I I'm not sure we would have had one anyway. We have been very careful, as you know, all along, and done very little mixing, even with our own family. Um, and so, in a way, it didn't really change our plans too much, but I know for many it's going to be difficult. Well, for us, it's going to be difficult. Don't get me wrong. We're going to have to make do with video chats, and making sure gifts get over to the various households ahead of time. Um, but that's just the way it has to be right now, and we'll get through it. But yeah, it's definitely going to be a different kind of Christmas this year. Just gonna check my notes. Oh yeah, I was sick myself since last time I recorded, which is why I did not record last week. Um, it began with some vague, just not feeling well, and then kind of morphed into what I thought was some sort of upper respiratory infection. But as it turned out, it seems like it was just a virus of some sort. I did get tested for COVID-19 twice, actually. The first time my test came back in about 31 hours or so. Didn't really think I'd be positive, but wanted to be sure, and was advised by my doctor's office to get tested. Um, and then I spoke to my doctor, I guess a couple days after I got tested, and she said she wasn't entirely comfortable with the rate of false negatives early on in testing. What I mean is testing early on in the course of your illness, and said if I got any worse to get tested again. And that night, I was experiencing some shortness of breath overnight and into the morning, and I thought I better get retested. As I explained last week, I have recently developed asthma, and I'm in the early stages of diagnosis and treatment for that. So it was important to eliminate that as a cause for sure. Um, that test took a lot longer to come back. It was just shy of 48 hours. But once again, did test negative, and by then I was feeling quite a bit better. Although I have still continued to have my breathing sort of feel like my progress has been set back. But I did have a telephone appointment with my doctor this morning. She's upping the dose on one of my medications for a week, and then we'll check back in next week. And then I do have a long standing appointment set up with an allergist tomorrow. Again, telephone for now, but hoping to gain some insight from him, and we'll figure it out. my doctor today said if certain medicines aren't working, there are others we can try. So I'm feeling a little bit more encouraged by that, because I definitely have been feeling discouraged, to have been really feeling much, much more normal, and then having this setback this past week. It's been frustrating. I've always been really healthy, and the last few years I've had various health issues kind of come and go, and I don't like that very much. I'll be perfectly honest with you; it really bugs me. Um, but at the same time, aren't we lucky? We live at a time when so many illnesses and conditions can be treated so easily. So we have to keep positive, right? I always try and see the positive. Let me just look. What else? Oh, I got a call today to say that my sewing machine is now fixed and ready to get picked up. So Cameron is not back to his office till next week, and that is just down the road from where I got my machine repaired. So I should get it back early next week. He'll go and get it. So I was happy to hear that, and nothing seriously was wrong with it. So whatever was jamming the mechanism, they figured it out. More or less, just gave it a good uh, tune-up, I guess is the right word. um, so I have been going through a little bit of a up and down with my goal of getting a loom for Christmas. So I ordered it a few weeks ago. I attempted to order an old style stand for it. Received a call from the shop where I ordered it, which was in Quebec, to say they were so sorry. They had their website was wrong, and no, they didn't have any in stock, and it's an old style and they can't get it anymore. And so I tracked down a new style one from a different shop, ordered that, and then learned it had to be ordered in. And then in the meantime, I was contacted by the place where I'd ordered my loom from, and they told me that they had expected to get some more in, but now it was going to be delayed. And so they refunded my money, and they would notify me when they came back in stock. So I've been on the hunt for an in-stock loom of the design of my choice, which is a 24-inch Ashford rigid heddle. And I actually was kind of annoyed. I had left a message with the shop last Friday, and they said on the answering machine that they were just one person overseeing things, that they would try and return the call by the end of the day, which they did not. But I also did not hear Saturday, and I tried to call again, couldn't get through. Finally, Monday morning, I called again, and someone actually answered the phone. She thought she had just gotten one in. She opened it up. She goes, "Oh no, that's the 16-inch. I think I have one, or if I don't, I think I'm getting one tomorrow." Took my name, number, never heard back from her. So earlier this morning, when I checked my email, I had received an email from the first place I had ordered the loom from to say that they were back in stock. So I placed the order there again. Am hoping that it's truly there. They did say there was a limited number in stock, so I'm hoping that I was early enough in the queue to get it. So cross fingers that I have a loom on the way and that it will get here by Christmas Day. I'm a big girl. If it doesn't, it's not the end of the world, but it would be really cool to get it by then, and then also have that to look forward to doing over the holidays. Cameron is taking the week off between Christmas and New Year's, so we often will go away around that time for a few days, and this year it'll be a staycation. but I am looking forward to sort of cozy days of reading and knitting and hopefully weaving. So cross fingers for me. Send out some good vibes. Um, I think that is it, except for something good. And really, it just comes down to the fact that the people close to me are all healthy. Um, Makes me want to cry. Just makes me a little teary. And although it will be difficult, not all being together over the holidays, so I'm used to also gathering with my extended family too. And we usually go over around New Year's to Cameron's brother's place, and we go see his mom. She's in an extended care home. We haven't seen her since last New Year's. We're still not allowed to visit now, and so we unfortunately won't see them this year either, or Cameron's other brother and his wife. So yeah, it's gonna be a tough year, but I am just got to look at the positive that we are all well, despite what's going on in the world. My mom says the best gift we can all give each other this year is safety. And she made a decision a long time ago that she wasn't coming down. She lives out of town, about 3 hours drive away, and she decided a long time ago that she was going to spend Christmas at home. And now, as it turns out, she wouldn't have, isn't permitted to anyway. And we wouldn't want to put her in that potentially unsafe situation anyway. So, yeah, positive note. Everybody's healthy. Thankful for that. So, I'm sure it will be a very different holiday season for many of you also. And so, I just want to give you my sincere best wishes for happy holidays, whichever holiday you happen to celebrate, or even if you don't celebrate a holiday at this time of year, I hope you are well. I do not expect to record another regular episode before Christmas, but I am going to continue to do Vlogmas up until the 24th. So if you're curious about what I'm up to, check that out. If you go to YouTube, I've created a playlist for Vlogmas 2020. So that's probably the easiest way to keep on top of them. And of course, as always, like and subscribe and sign up for notifications if you want to make sure that you don't miss an episode. I am considering doing one last episode of 2020 in the week between Christmas and New Year's, but I'm not going to make any promises. We'll just see how that week unfolds. And so if not, I'll see you early in the new year. So on that note, happy holidays to you all. Thank you so much for watching yet again. And as I say, thank you for just all that you bring to me. It is a true gift. So thank you for that. Hope to see you again really soon.